It should come as no surprise to anyone who watches my show that I'm a fan of Batman. I have the laughably bad serials from the 1940s, the entire 1960s television show on bootleg DVD, as well as the feature film, all of the 90s movies on 2-disc special edition DVD, and once I get The Dark Knight Rises, I'll be able to say the same thing about the new Batman trilogy. I have the entire animated series on DVD, The Batman on DVD, I have the old Batman newspaper comic strip, and I have over 150 individual stories featuring our beloved Caped Crusader, be it in individual comic book or in trade format. And in nearly all of these various Bat media is the ever-crucial staple of Robin. Now, some people out there think that Batman works better alone, but I, for one, have to love Robin for providing Batman with some kind of family that he otherwise wouldn't be able to have, and it's important that he has someone to keep him in the right frame of mind when it'd be all too easy for him to just flat-out murder people. This is why Tim Drake is my favorite Robin. He understood what being Robin meant, and the impact that he was supposed to have on the Batman's life. Which is why I can also say without any kind of exaggeration whatsoever that I hate Damian Wayne! For those who haven't been following Batman in these last couple of years, Damian Wayne is the bastard son of Batman and Talia al Ghul, and Batman is taking it upon himself to raise Damian as an upstanding citizen by making him into the new Robin. And this would be all well and good if Damian wasn't an arrogant little jackass with no respect for Batman, his peers, and basically anyone else who isn't his mother. Speaking of which, let's actually talk about Talia for a minute. Bruce Wayne has had a lot of notches etched into his belt over the years, and a popular theory regarding them is that no one has stirred a greater passion in The Dark Knight than Talia. All I have to say in response to that is, why? Sure, Talia's hot and all, but she's freaking nuts! Some might say that it's because she and Batman have similar goals and that they both want to eradicate evil from this world, but I'm sorry, when your methods of fighting evil involve wiping out a third of the human population, all bets are off! All sympathy for this woman and her motivations go completely out the window. And if that wasn't enough to prove that she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, Batman and Robin number 0 is the final nail in that coffin. In this happy little origin story for the new Boy Wonder, we see him being birthed from an artificial womb. Yeah, that's not weird or anything. And to compound the creepiness of this unnatural birth, what's the first thing that Talia does to her new bouncing baby boy? She takes him to a pool and just lets him go to see if he has the will to not drown. And while Ra's al Ghul might have had a point when he said that training is nothing, will is everything, that doesn't apply to someone who's only a few seconds old and doesn't have any kind of motor skills or any indication that he might be in danger! And Talia kills one of her servants for having the audacity to come to this painfully obvious conclusion herself. But yeah, somehow Damian survives what should have drowned him instantly, and Talia proceeds to shape him into a new assassin. He has some questions about his father, but Talia refuses to tell him anything about his father until he bests her in combat. I'm sorry, son, but I'll only tell you about your father once you've killed me in combat. Then I'll tell you, I promise. She's also raising little Damian to be the conqueror of the world. Yeah, no pressure or anything. Here's a question. His grandfather, Ra's al Ghul, has been trying to conquer the world for 600 years, and he constantly failed even before he was foiled by the Batman. He's dead now, and Talia has taken over the League of Assassins, and she hasn't taken over the world yet either. How exactly is Damian supposed to learn how to conquer the world by learning from people who have failed at that task for centuries? Years go by, and Damian is trained to perfection in all things except for besting his mother. Every year they fight on his birthday, and every year he's greeted by the same phrase over and over again. Happy birthday, Damian, you lose. Happy birthday, Damian, you lose. Ah, yes, the undying love of a mother for her child. I'm rooting for you! Considering how messed up this little kid is, I'm amazed he doesn't just murder her in her sleep. But you might be thinking that he's just that determined to learn about his father, right? After all, he's been raised to be the best at everything he does by people who, logically, must have been the best at everything that they do as well. And yet they've been beaten again and again by a single, solitary man, his father. He has to know about this mystical man for whom his mother has the greatest respect, right? Surely such a figure must be revered, if only because he's better than the best. After Damian somehow beats Talia with a single kick to her heavily padded stomach, she takes him to finally meet his father. And what are his first words to this incredible man who is the only force on the entire planet who's been able to keep his family from taking over the world? I imagined you taller. this is how the comic ends! Batman being bent over a barrel and his bastard son insulting him. Even if we ignore how insulting this is to your father and to the guy your mother holds nothing but respect and admiration for, he's still taller than you when he's on his knees. Go to hell, you little freak! And you go to hell too, Talia. You're telling Batman that he's been evading his responsibilities when you didn't even bother to breastfeed or even give birth to him yourself. All we've ever seen you do is try to kill him while spouting off pseudo-intellectual ramblings about how it's his destiny to conquer the world. Hell, you never even told Batman that he has a son in the first place. Talia says Batman's been evading his responsibilities, but do we even know that Damian is the result of this alleged passion between Batman and Talia that people like talking about? For all we know, she's just screwing with him and she cloned him with a sample of his blood that was spilled during a prior encounter with him or something. Oh, and here's the real gem of her stupidity. She says that Damian needs Batman's guiding hand to become the perfect heir to the Al Ghul Empire. What the hell does she think the Batman can teach him about running the world or being a better assassin? This is the guy who's been trying to stop you for years. Even assuming that he could reprogram this murderous little freak into something less lethal, which he won't, why would he ever want to help you to turn him into the future conqueror of the world? And it might seem like I'm making a big deal over this one line of dialogue that Damian spouts off, but again, this disrespect isn't limited to Batman alone. He makes it a point to be an obnoxious, combative little prick to everyone in Batman's circle of allies, including the Robins, who are skilled enough to not get killed in combat, something which should garner nothing but respect from this little kid whose primary objective is to kill! Now, I know what some of you might be thinking out there. Why am I making such a big deal over this character? Maybe Batman actually will change Damian and turn him into the Robin that he's supposed to be. A charming theory, to be sure, but if you think that Damian Wayne is going to undergo some kind of a character arc and he turns into something less irritating, let me tell you about Kamandi. Kamandi, the last boy on Earth, tells the story of a future where anthropomorphic animals have taken over the world, and Kamandi is the only human who can stand up to them. For whatever reason, DC has made it a point that this relatively obscure little story is where the DC universe will eventually end up. Unlike what most sci-fi stories out there would tell you, this future is actually set in stone, and nothing is going to change that. And now to answer the question of what Kamandi has to do with Batman and Robin, let's take a quick peek at Batman number 700. In one of my earlier videos, I mentioned a few ways that non-comic readers out there could actually get into comic books. One thing I didn't mention was the anniversary issue, like Detective Comics number 527, featuring the 500th appearance of Batman in that book. These issues are usually self-contained and can act as perfect jumping-on points for new readers, like Action Comics number 800, which celebrates Superman as a symbol of hope and an inspiration to be something better than we are. As for Batman number 700, we find a story taking place in the future where Bruce Wayne is dead and Damian Wayne has taken over the mantle of the Bat. Apparently, the events of the Arkham Asylum video game are now canon with the rest of the DCU, since we find Batman fighting some cops who are clearly hopped up on Titan. So how does Damian deal with these poor members of Gotham's finest? He signals a Wayne Tech satellite to fry them from space! And there it is, people! Decades from now, when Batman is dead and buried and Damian Wayne is continuing the proud tradition as set up by the original Batman, he's going out there and murdering innocent people! And yes, since DC insists on seeing that the futures that they create come to fruition, that only means that this is going to be the future of Batman, and that Damian's still going around murdering innocent people, despite Batman trying to teach him not to. We can't even hope for DC granting us the chance to have him killed off like they did for Jason Todd. He's here to stay, and the only thing that's going to change about him is his costume. And because there's no hope for this character or his involvement in the DC universe, there's only one thing that I can do to make me feel better about this. Ah! I love the Power Glove. It's so